What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So the city of Dallas, right, from the 1950s through the 80s, saw the city saw an explosion as far as population and as far as financial prosperity and potential. And of course, whenever you have a city that's just teeming with population growth and economic prosperity, especially a large metropolitan area like Dallas, that can draw the eye of a lot of sports franchises. Of course, we saw the Dallas Cowboys with their great success starting in the 1970s, peaking in the 1990s, of course. But then the NBA started looking at Dallas as a potential city for a basketball team. And we saw that in the early 1980s when they were uh, the first expansion team of the 80s, the Dallas Mavericks. And when I think of the Dallas Mavericks in the 1980s, I think of, players like obviously Rolando Blackman. I think of Brad Davis. I think of James Donaldson. Um, I think of Mark Aguirre, who I believe was second in the NBA in scoring during the 1983-84 season, second only to the great Adrian Dantley, the real AD. I think of the tragically uh, faded Roy Tarpley. Uh, those were some really good teams in the 1980s. Dirk Harper's another guy I forgot to mention. Those are some really good teams in the 1980s. 1990s, for the most part, saw a a downturn for the franchise. There was some hope in the mid 1990s with the three J's, Kidd, Mashburn, and Jackson. But that team broke up, you know. And for the most part in the 1990s, especially the late 90s, the Dallas Mavericks were a horrible franchise. I mean, most teams would go into Dallas, or if they saw they had Dallas as an opponent, they looked at them as almost like an automatic W. One of those seasons in the 90s, they went 11-71. They lost 71 fucking games. That's unbelievable. They were flirting with the all-time worst full season record for futility, which is still held by the 19, I think 72-73 Sixers, who went 9-73. Now, of course, I think it was a Raptor team that only won 7 games, but that was during the strike shortened year in the early 2000 teens. I think they went 7-59, but for a full season, 9-73 is the record. But Then came Dirk Nowitzki, who was originally drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, uh, but his rights were swapped to Dallas in exchange for uh, what's his name, Robert Tractor Trailer. That's one of the greatest moves that they made, man, because Tractor Trailer just did not live up to expectations. May he rest in peace. Dirk Nowitzki, however, did not start off great, man. He almost quit the NBA, but he stuck with it. And throughout the 2000s, he improved. The team around him improved, and Dallas was one of the best teams in the NBA. I think starting around 2002 ish. They were almost always in the picture as far as a championship caliber team. But there were a lot of disappointments, though. I mean, individually, Dirk would guarantee you 26 points, about 9 rebounds. He would shoot the ball very well, usually around 47, 48, 49%. Shot the three ball very well, 38 to 39%. Was a great foul shooter for a big man, 87, 88%. And that's something we hadn't seen before with Dirk. We've never seen a 7-footer who could shoot the ball from the outside with that type of fluidity and that type of consistency with that prominence. Yeah, sure, we had the occasional Derek Coleman or Terry Mills or Sam Perkins who could, you know. hit an occasional open three, if the defense got lazy. But for a guy like Dirk to do it at the level that he did, with the consistency and accuracy, we hadn't seen that before. But there's a lot of playoff disappointments. 2006, the team was up 2-0. They were a quarter away from going up 3-0, which would have been an insurmountable lead, most likely. But the Heat came back and won 4 games in a row in a remarkable comeback. Now, there have been some whispers that the NBA might have stolen a ring from Dirk. I don't want to go there in this video, but it is what it is. The next year, 2007, the Mavericks won 67 games. When you look at how competitive the Western Conference was, you look at Dirk's team. I mean, I think we really been shortchanging Dirk because if you look at that team, it wasn't the most star-studded team. Um, but unfortunately, the reigning MVP got knocked out in the first round by that upstart Warriors team. Not the current Warriors team, but another team, the We Believe team. And then the knock was that Dirk just can't win, man. Dirk is a great player, but he doesn't have that killer in him, and he just can't lead a team to a title. And then comes 2011. 2011, Dirk was on a mission, and if you remember Dirk during that whole playoff run, he had a different look to him. Earlier, Dirk would maybe sometimes flash a goofy grin and with the headband on, shake his head, and no, you didn't see any of those theatrics. You saw a stone cold assassin for the most part in those playoffs. And he led that team without another superstar to an NBA championship, defeating the evil Miami Heat. So you look at Dirk, you look at his accomplishments, 21 big league seasons, over 31,000 points. He's one of only, I believe, what, 7 NBA players to score 30,000 points. He's one of only 8 men in the history of the NBA and pro basketball history, when you include the ABA, to score over 30,000 career points. Just a phenomenal player, and it's a long time coming that they retire his jersey. Um, Prior to his retirement, if you would ask me who was the greatest number 41 in NBA history whose jersey has been retired, I would have said Glenn Rice, but that's no longer the case. Easily, that's no longer the case. Um, I do want to make one mention about something. I noticed that in every one of these photographs that they show of Dirk with his family, for some reason his wife's face is never revealed. It's always showing the back of her head. All the photos I've seen, some of them show Dirk looking at in the direction so that the camera can see his face, and some of them aren't, like this one, but all of them show his wife, like the back of her head. And I wonder why that is, you know. But then when you see who she is, then you start thinking, mm, whatever. But tell me what you guys think.